Hello, we're
Right.
back again.
Yes.
It's great, isn't it?
It's so good to see you again.
Yeah, it's good to see you, and it's good to see everyone out there, and today we are going to conclude what we started last week. Yeah, Cheryl is going to be coming more, to talk about other things because she's a woman that is endowed with so much wisdom and knowledge and understanding. She God is graced her in the area of the prophetic. So I have Cheryl Mears. You can see her name already. She's married to Josh, a wonderful man, and she has two wonderful children, Skylar and Adeline. They are a wonderful family. Cheryl is a pastor, is a local pastor, and God is helping her. She's doing great, I can tell you that. And she's very good with photography. She does some artwork. Oh, I said I was gonna bring it. Anyway, she does artwork. The first time we hung out, the first time we hung out, you gave me this wonderful beads that you've made yourself, and it's really pretty. She's a wonderful woman of God. She's packed with experience. Like God had taken her through a whole lot. And I remember what God said to me in 1998. God said, I've healed you. Go and heal others. That's the kind of situation with Cheryl. Even in a greater dimension, she went through some things. I was like, oh, I had not even been through things like this, but God has brought her out, and God is using her to bless other lives, to bless other lives. Some people are going through things and they're so overwhelmed, by the things they're going through. Sometimes it helps when they know that someone has gone through that before. First Corinthians 10:13 said it. There's no trial or temptation that seeks you except that which is common to man. And so today is going to be another wonderful day. We're going to be talking about a second marriage. Last week, if you were not here, you probably need to go back. For people that are struggling, maybe somebody walked out on them, maybe their marriage ended and it feels like life has ended. No, life has not ended. And then we also encourage people to say that the fact that your marriage is struggling does not mean that you give up completely on your marriage, because we're going to hear more about that. So, Sherry, you're welcome.
Yeah, so good to see you and welcome everyone back. So last week when we were talking, I was sharing about how God restored our marriage, and Josh and I, we got remarried after being separated and divorced for a year. And I was kind of mind blown that that was even a possibility. I thought it was really special that God did that for us. And it wasn't long after we got married that I got called into full time ministry. And so started serving in the church full time. And here's the thing is that sometimes we think when all the things are going good in our lives that life is going to be perfect, that when we surrender our lives to Jesus, that everything is going to be great and we're not going to have problems. And that is so far from the truth.
Mhm.
Because if anything, the closer we get to God, the more the enemy is going to attack. And the Bible says that he prowls around like a roaring lion, seeking to steal, kill, and destroy. And so we were 2 years into being remarried when my husband Josh was struggling with some deeper rooted addictions and sin. And I was in full time ministry, and we had our daughter Adeline was born, and so life was busy. We were busy. And I remember waking up in the middle of the night, and I had discovered that Josh was having another affair, and
Mm.
he was dealing with a lot of things. And I remember whenever he left for work, he called me and he said, "I think I need to come home so we can talk." And whenever he got home, he had shared that he had been trying so hard to stop the addiction of pornography and all of the things that he was going through, and he just couldn't do it on his own.
Mm.
And I believe that God used me and woke me up in the middle of the night to find out, so he could figure out what freedom looked like. Now, I was so mad. I was absolutely broken because we had already went through this.
Mm.
We had already went through addiction, and we'd already went through all of these struggles.
Okay, Sharon, sorry for cutting you. I want to, when you say we've already been through this, I want for people that probably just gonna come up, I want to hear what are the things that you've gone through again? Can you quickly just wrap that up again?
Absolutely. So Josh and we were both in recovery from drugs. We had already separated and divorced because of adultery, and Josh was having an affair. So we had already been through a lot of these things, and we were both in, by this time, I've got almost 5 years sobriety. He's got 4 years sobriety. So we're walking in recovery. But some people think that addiction is just drugs or alcohol. Addiction is also pornography, sex addiction, it's gossip, anger, shopping, right? Looking at inappropriate things.
Yeah,
Anything that controls your mind or fills the hole in your heart that only Jesus can fill, that is a life controlling issue.
yeah,
And it's a bondage. It's a
yeah,
bondage that holds you to sin, right?
yeah.
And so we had already been through these things, and I
And
thought,
you're sorry, and you have become born again,
yeah,
and you have even become pastor. Let me quickly drag you into that again. When you became a pastor, when you told him you were going to become a pastor, what was the thing for him? What was he supportive? Was he into it? Was he excited about it? Or did he have his concern? How did it, how
yeah,
did that?
we were both serving in the church, and whenever we found out that I had the opportunity to go into ministry, he is my number one fan. He is my biggest cheerleader, my biggest supporter. He
Hmm,
speaks life into me. He believes in me. He
um,
is like, we are in it together, no doubt.
Okay, because I stop you on that because as a counselor, you hear a lot of things when God is called a woman into the ministry. And sometimes the husband support, on the outside, everybody sees that this is a man that is supporting his wife. But the truth is the support is not there, it's just superficial. And then sometimes it's a man that got called into the ministry, and the wife, comes outside. Oh, my husband is serving God, I'm excited. And the husband is um crediting things to the wife. But on the inside, when it gets down to the home when nobody's watching, the woman becomes a thorn in the flesh of the man and doesn't want him to really serve God. So
Yeah,
what was such a man? That's why I wanted you to talk about that, to say
yeah,
supporting one another matters, not necessarily even pastoring, whether your business, whether the man is doing business, whether the woman is doing business, you don't have to be doing the thing together if, like, you don't, both of you don't have to have the title of a pastor if
right.
he's not called, but it's still a family thing. If he's a pastor,
Mhm.
his family. If he's when I got married and we started business, God spoke to me about poultry, but eventually I left the poultry for the family, and I put everything into it. I gave everything because it's not about one person,
Mhm.
it's about both of you.
That's
If
right.
you are a pastor, the wife may not be a pastor, even though some people feel they have to be a pastor. The wife may not be called, but it's a family thing.
Yes.
It's about the family. If the husband is working, or the husband is called into ministry or called into business or called into anything, the wife still need to support.
Yes.
because it's not a personal thing. Once you're married, you are in there together. You don't need to feel less if the husband is doing business and is making money and the wife feel like, oh, what am I doing? Maybe your part is to take care of the children. Maybe that is your part. And the man also understand that and does not talk down on the wife and say, oh, I'm bringing the money. Money is not everything anyway. So the need for family to see themselves
Right.
as one. Whatever you do, whatever I do, we support one another. It's very important.
Yeah, it's very important. And one of the things that we learned, early in our relationship when Jesus is that God is number one.
Mm.
God is number one.
Mm.
Your spouse is number two, right? Yeah. So your spouse is number two. Now, if you get that out of alignment where you put your spouse first and God next, or you put your job first and then God, or your job and then everything else, nothing is going to work. Jesus is the number one priority.
Yeah.
And so I put God first, and then my husband is next. And then children and ministry and all the other things kind of come next. Because if that is out of alignment and if we are not focusing on our relationship with God, we cannot give from the overflow. And there was a season there really briefly where like my husband felt like ministry was more important, or the kids were more important, or the new baby was more important. And that caused some struggles as well. And so I don't want to say that when our spouse, not necessarily our husband, because women also have affairs and have addictions.
Yeah, everybody.
But when our spouse has an addiction or commits adultery, we didn't make them go do that. But we all play a part in how our spouse feels. Maybe we cause our spouse to not feel good enough, or insignificant, or insecure. We have to own that. And so whenever I discovered that Josh was having an affair, wanted to be free from that bondage of sin and addiction, the Lord gave me, out of the Bible, Isaiah 43:2. Okay. And when he came home, and I was so upset. I was so upset because I didn't know if I could do this again. The Lord said, you will do this again, because this isn't about you. This is about your husband. And so out of 43:2, it says, when you pass through the waters, I will be with you. And the rivers will not overwhelm you. When you walk through the fire, you will not be scorched, and the flame will not burn you.
Amen. Yeah.
And so I just knew in that moment, we're going to walk through the fire. We're going to be refined, but we will not come out smelling like smoke.
Awesome.
And I sat with Josh and I said, do you want to be well? And he was like, I will do whatever it takes. And I said, I will walk through the fire with you. I'll do it with you. And he met with another pastor and read this book.
What's the book?
The Bondage Breaker.
The Bondage Breaker.
I'm going to put it where you can see it, and I'll notes.
Okay. The Bondage Breaker by who?
Neil T. Anderson. This book right here set my husband free.
Let me quickly take you back for people to have understanding.
Yep.
So there are steps to things. Because somebody is going through some things right now and they're watching, or somebody is going to share this video. I want to encourage you, please share this video. I tell you, a lot of people, millions of people out there are going through what Cheryl is talking about, and sharing the video is going to help someone. And you never just know who is going through the thing. So you don't feel, oh yeah, I have a friend that is John, he's not going through that. You don't know. A lot of things happen behind closed doors. A lot of things happen. People put things out on social media. Oh, this couple, how beautiful. Oh, they're so great. They're so, but you don't know what happens.
Mhm.
When the curtains are closed, when the doors are closed, you don't know. So you say something, you find out, because the process is very important.
Yes.
The process of recovering starts from the discovery.
Right.
So you discovered this. It was keeping the secret.
Yep.
You discover it. And based on what we've talked about before, to say, this is the one thing I always say in my family, we're in it together. If it's good, we're gonna enjoy it. If it's bad, we're gonna fix it together.
Yes.
So you pick that thing as a Proverb 31 woman, the virtuous woman, that is what you're to do. Still respect your husband, irrespective of what has happened. Okay, so as a woman, you go to Josh and you say, you confronted him.
Yeah.
And Josh said, I'm willing to do
Yeah.
anything,
Yep.
everything possible to
Yeah.
get better. See, this is the icebreaker for me.
Yep.
This is the thing. I always say something in marriage. Money is great, but money is not everything.
Mhm.
Fame is great. Fame is not everything. Our knowledge of the word of God, or how we can pray 12 hours, we can pray 24 hours a day. That's great. But what is most important is character.
Yeah.
I talked to single people and I said, marry someone that has great character. It is not, the character comes first. I mean, the godly character we're talking about, that it comes first, because that means that they have a good heart. And even in ministry, there are people that have done something wrong, in our ministry, maybe staff, executive, and people will say, oh, why did you get the person back? Why you? And I said, no, I look for the heart of a person.
Yeah.
If a person have a right heart, things can always be resolved. Conflict will always come. But how willing is the person to do the conflict? Another man, and I'm giving it to you, Cheryl. I want to commend you for that. That's commendable. For you, from the first, that you discover that you are not burning the house down, that you are not doing, because that's some things that women do that is also wrong, or men do that is also wrong. The fact that your partner, has done something wrong does not mean that you throw everything out of the window.
Right.
You have vowed to stay with that person.
Yeah.
But the thing is, what makes you now to decide whether I want to do this or I don't want to do this is also the other person's attitude.
Yes.
When you told Josh and said, okay, this, if Josh had come around to say, oh, yeah, you caused it, you're not giving me enough sex, you're not doing this, you are not, that would have been very difficult for you to take another step. So humility, character come to play here. I've done this.
Yeah.
I'm not just that, oh, Cheryl, I'm sorry. No, but I'm willing to do everything, because I've had to counsel people that they lost their job or lost their business, and the humility is not there to say, okay, I'm going to work with us. I'm going to do everything to
Right.
do. I tell my boys that I'm boys, I say, you're going to grow to be men. To be a man, you have to learn to take responsibility. Not giving excuses, not putting blame on things. Take responsibility, own up things, and be willing to adjust things. Whether you're a woman or you're a man,
Right.
I think that good. That is very good. I must commend Josh for
Yeah.
that. So,
Right. And he had been trying to stop.
mm,
And some men and even women think that
mhm,
when we confess or when we admit that we're wrong, that it means that we're bad or that we're weak when we ask for help. Asking for help is the most courageous and brave thing that you can do.
Awesome. Go girl.
And when he said, I have been trying to stop and I could not stop by myself.
Mm. Mm.
And I need help.
Oh, God.
I saw the strongest man before me. Now, did that mean that I was okay? No, I was not okay. And so, so my encouragement, if you are struggling with an addiction or a sin and you are
Mm.
trying to stop and you can't,
Mm.
ask for help.
Mm.
Ask for
Mm. Mm.
if you are on the receiving end and your spouse is wanting help, but they have hurt you, hold on. Just hold on.
Yeah.
And find a pastor, a mentor, someone that is going to point you to the word of God. Someone that's going to love you and care for you, hold you accountable, but is going to point you to Jesus, not talk bad about your spouse. You don't want people that are going to talk bad about your spouse or be on your side.
Mm.
That
You
is
want people that are going to be true and fair
exactly right.
in the whole thing. So don't try to go to
Yes.
somebody that is going to be like, oh, yeah, why is it so bad? You want to go to somebody that is going to be true, especially in a situation where it's not abuse, it's not, yeah, because if it's abusive situation, that's a different case entirely. But if it's this, that someone is going through this addiction, someone is come clean, someone is willing to help, at that particular time is a soft landing.
Yes.
And so you said something now, you said the woman too you needed to go to somebody too,
Yes.
because the fact that it's conferred and you say, I've forgiven you, doesn't mean that you're not hurting. You
Mm,
have to process certain things too. You need someone to be there for you to
yeah.
process, because you have to learn to trust again and all of those things. It's a process. So you need someone
Yep.
to help you also.
So I personally started seeing my own counselor and therapist.
Mm, mm,
I also had a trusted mentor who had also been through the very same thing years
mm,
before in her marriage.
mm.
And she was able to give me advice and
Mm,
wisdom. And she said, Cheryl, this is not about you. I know you're hurting, but this is about a man
mm,
that wants to be free from
yeah.
bondage of sin.
Mm,
And
mm,
so, and she said, this is where the rubber meets the road with your faith.
mm,
You got to put on your big girl pants, focus on your relationship with God, and watch what God does in your marriage. And it was so hard. It was so hard. But I saw the transformation take place. Josh started counseling.
mm,
He started finding healing for himself. And
mm,
then we together went to counseling.
mm.
And our marriage is better and stronger. Is it perfect? No, it's not.
It's no perfect marriage.
Crazy. I he is so supportive and so great. But our marriage is stronger than it's ever been. And remember last week, whenever I shared with you guys, whenever I had gotten pulled over by that police officer and he shared the gospel and he gave me that Bible.
Yeah.
Here's that little
We're
Bible.
gonna see. Ooh, wow.
Now, here's what happened when Josh was and I were walking, we were remarried, we were walking in restoration again. That same police officer and his wife, they met with us.
Don't tell me.
They had also been through something very similar.
Whoa.
So years later, we got to have dinner with them and they shared their story. The same officer that gave me this book, this Bible, this little New Testament Bible, spoke life and truth into my husband and into me of like, you guys are going to get through this. The same police officer. Like, God is so good.
Sure. I mean, I just kind of really like feel like crying right here
So good.
because this is a journey. Everybody's journey is different.
Yeah.
And we're all going to go through our journey.
Right.
This morning, our family devotion, we decided to read Psalm 23. I'm
Mhm.
making it become a memory verse for the children. So obviously now it's a memory verse.
Sounds good.
So yeah, so we were just doing the Lord's Prayer. And then, so we're doing the memory of the Psalm 23. And I mean, that does not mean my home is perfect. For some people that are watching and feel, oh, our children are able to read Psalm 23, just leave that. Raise your children in the way of the Lord. But I mean, everybody have their struggle at the end of the day. So, but we were reading that. And as I was reading mine, it just said, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death.
Yeah.
At every point in our life, we're going to walk through the shadow of death. What you're talking about, things, I mean, it has happened to everybody. I mean, mine in my marriage wasn't adultery, wasn't pornography, wasn't anything in that regard, but there was also an issue that was a broken trust.
Mm-hmm.
And, I said, okay, we're a family. We're going to work through this together, and I felt at that point, oh, it's gone. I've gone over it. I'm a pastor, pray and everything. But then in life, you kind of realize that other things will come. You will do something. Your spouse will do something. And you have to keep walking through it, not sweeping it under the carpet, because as long as you keep sweeping it under the carpet, you're creating more trouble.
Yes.
You confronted the situation. Your husband was in a way obedient to you. He submitted to you. This is Ephesians chapter 1, verse 21. That says submitting one to another, because at this time it could have come up to preach Ephesians chapter 5, verse 21, 22 to you. Wife, submit to your own husband. I've seen somebody called me and he said, my wife does not respect me. And I'm just saying it because so that if I leave and bring another woman home and so on like that. I mean, he was speaking arrogantly. And I said, sir, what did you do? What happened? What do you mean by she doesn't respect you? Because at that point, I like to understand what the person is saying. What do they mean by disrespect? And he said, oh, just because he saw me, he saw a lady on my lap at a club, and she saw the picture and she wants to go mad and she's calling things and she's getting angry. What is this? And I asked him, I said, sir, your wife is not here between me and you. Are you dating the woman? It said, yeah, I'm a guy. I mean, things happen, and I said, do you think if the table was flipped, if the coin is flipped over, how are you going to react? If you see your wife, if you check your wife's phone, you wanted to use your wife's phone for something, she was not snooping on your phone. She wanted to check your phone for something that you asked her to do. And she saw the picture. And if it were you and you saw the picture, they say, oh, she can't do that. She's a woman. A woman is not supposed to cheat. And I said, is the man supposed to cheat? I said, everybody process things differently.
Yep.
Another woman can say that and keep quiet and maybe talk to you later. Another woman is not going to do that. People process things differently. If you want respect, do something that is respect worthy. Even though I talked to the woman and I told the woman, there are ways to also react. As a child of God, as a woman of God also, calling names shouldn't be, is out of character. Cheryl, you shared with us last week how you had those bad words in your mouth. but you ask God to take away those things, because after all said and done, it's about you, it's about your character. You can't give excuse and say, oh, this person make me say bad words.
Right.
You have a problem with bad words, so deal with it. So as a Christian woman, you don't go all flare out, but at the same time, you confront the situation.
Right.
So I think what you're saying here is just for us as Christians to watch our life, how we do things, how we react to things, how we throw things out, to say that even if your husband was caught, I mean, it wasn't adultery that he was sleeping with another person. Well, for me, maybe that wouldn't, it is still going to be on the same level. You're still going to have to get to a point where you talk to the person, you talk as a nice person, you talk to that person as a Christian.
Yeah.
You don't come from the point where you feel that, oh, I'm the righteous one now, and you are the sinner, and we're gonna wash you clean. We're gonna do this for you. You're not coming from that place. You're coming from the place of love.
Right.
You want to say something at that point? It's fine.
Yeah. So whenever we started counseling, we had to learn how we felt about
Mm,
feelings.
mm,
Because a lot of times when we feel disrespected, when, okay, my wife doesn't respect me, or my spouse like hurts my feelings, we have to recognize what our feelings are. And that's where counseling and therapy helps, because you can recognize how you feel. And so now, years later, we're restored, everything is good, but things are not always great. There are times where I will say something in my tone, or my face will say something, and Josh will tell me, I feel really disrespected right now because of your tone of voice. And we learned that in counseling. So now we can call it out in each other. Now,
mm,
if he says that, sometimes I'm like, well, I try to like justify but that's not okay. I have to own that and say,
mm,
I can see why my tone would come across that way.
mm,
I am so sorry that I made you feel that way. Will you please forgive me?
mm.
And we own it. It's humility.
On both sides.
It's humility on both sides, because it is hard to tell someone, you really made me feel unloved when you said that, or when you acted that way, or you really made me feel disrespected, or I feel disrespected. It's hard because people don't like conflict.
Mm,
They don't like conflict. They want to avoid conflict. But conflict that's what bridges the gap in relationships.
mm,
When you can talk about conflict and things that hurt and bother you, it makes you closer and it makes you stronger together. And so many times we just don't want to talk about it because it hurts. But that has been what has helped us. And when you talked about, Psalms 23, you can also go to Psalms 51, where it says, create in me a clean heart, O God, right? Like it's the same way. We've got the good shepherd that walks with us through the valley of the shadow of death. He makes us lie down in green pastures, right? He restores our soul, but he also creates in us a clean heart
mm.
when
Yeah.
we are willing. And we have to be willing to have good character, moral integrity, right?
Mm, mm,
We have a strong relationship with Jesus. We have moral integrity.
mm,
Integrity is what you do behind closed doors when no one is watching.
mm,
And here's the thing, if integrity matters,
mm,
nothing matters.
mm,
If integrity doesn't matter,
Nothing.
it matters, right? And
No.
we give from the overflow. We give from the overflow of our relationship with God. And so, it's, life isn't perfect and we're not perfect, but when we are willing to learn about each other and learn about ourselves and own our mistakes
Mm.
and ask for help, God does immeasurably more than we can ask, think, or imagine.
Sherry, I mean, you said a lot of profound words. You said a lot of profound words that I'm picking from it, and I know everybody's picking also. The Bible said, iron sharpened iron. You
Yes.
know, you said something about counseling,
Yep.
and that's what I want us counseling and mentoring.
Yes.
Mentoring is very important.
Yes, it is.
One of the things that I feel is important in marriage is trust. And trust is that we can say things. I remember when I met my husband, the first thing I say is after we agreed to marry one another, we hadn't known one another. We didn't date, you know, before we before the proposal, there was no dating. We had only seen twice. And the twice that we've not seen each other. We didn't even have a 1 hour conversation,
Mhm.
when the proposal came and everything. And eventually, when I agreed to the proposal, when I said yes, one of the very first thing that I said is, let's talk about our weaknesses.
Mhm.
What I said, I know my weaknesses. I'm going to say it all out because we have to be vulnerable to one another.
Yes.
The place of your weakness is the most vulnerable state.
Mhm.
So you can open it all. Let's open a book
Yeah.
and both of us read from the book so that when you're doing something and I know already, I'm gonna say, okay, this is going through this. This is him. He's gonna work on it. While he's working on it, I'm gonna have to be patient and let him go through the process. And when it's my turn, when my weakness come up, we're going to say this is because I've gone for training at that particular time. I know how to understand my weaknesses and walk through the process with my weaknesses because I'm not perfect. Some of them I'm still praying every day, God, help me to be better
Same.
in this. You're working on it. You are not perfect on it. People can see. Sometimes I tell people around me, tell me when I'm doing something that is wrong. Even staff that are under me, don't say, oh, this is the president. No,
Mhm.
God does not have president. God calls us by name.
Right.
So let's talk about it. So, another thing that I said, if we're going to go to this marriage, we have to have a mentor
Yes.
because it's very important. That's where people make a lot of mistakes.
Right.
They feel like, even for people, I've seen people divorce after 50 years of marriage, and you're like someone like I've known people divorce after 40 years of marriage, after 30 years of marriage. And most of the time when you ask them, they said, oh, do you know what it means to stay 30 years expecting things to be better? And you tell yourself, is this how my life is going to end? Not having lived my life. Because in counseling, in mentoring, and go to mentor that both of you are going to be comfortable with.
Right.
As a woman or as a man, you don't go to counseling that is going to be, when I had marriage crisis, I didn't go to my mentor. My mentor is a wonderful counselor, but I went to someone that both of us are going to respect. Someone that I didn't know fully before, someone that both of us are going to be able to respect. There's going to be fairness and so on. And I think that's a word to someone to say, go for counseling. And sometimes if you realize that this counseling, this mentor is, you can change. You can change your counselors, you can change your mentors,
Yes.
and be willing from what you have told us, be willing to learn to walk through change.
Yes.
Because if you stand to say, this is who I am, there's this book, Lisa, about talking about
Boundaries.
boundaries.
Lisa Kirst. Yes.
Yeah, you took her course. Awesome. She wanted the marriage to be okay,
Yep.
but the husband wouldn't give up
Right.
the bad lifestyle.
Right.
At the end of the day, she had to come to terms with, is this how I want to live my whole life?
Correct.
Do I want to change? So you need to, mentoring is very important. There are people that mentors. I'm sure Cheryl can mentor anybody that wants to be mentored. I do mentoring in Jos. Pastor Benson Ogre does mentoring. He actually has an academy. There are wonderful people, because sometimes your pastor may not even be your mentor.
Right. That is exactly right. Your pastor gives you the pastoral care, the pastoral support. When you find a mentor, that is someone that can hold you accountable, but that you trust. Because whenever they tell you what you need to hear, that maybe is really hard to hear. For example, I have a mentor that I see every week. She's also my counselor, but she helps me realize that my value does not come from what I do or what people think about me. So oftentimes we find ourselves struggling with insecurity and self-image and all of these things because we're trying to please the world. We're trying to please the people in our lives. We're trying to earn people's love by buying things for them or doing things for them. We're doing all these things when our value comes from God.
Yeah.
And so she will call me out and she'll be like, why are you trying to people please? And why are you worried about what everybody is thinking about you? Why don't you just focus on what God thinks about you? And so she'll kind of call me out on it. And I will be like, I don't like how that sounds, but it's true. And she's being honest and she's telling me what I need to hear, even though it's not what I want to hear. And I know that she loves and cares about me and that she would not say that to hurt me. She is saying that so she can help me. And I have to have a heart and a posture of humility to be like, okay, what can I do? How can I change this? And how can I do better? So that way I don't find my value in what people think about me. And so finding a mentor, someone that you trust, someone that you can talk to, that cares about you. They may say things that you don't like, but it's something that you need to hear.
That's Sherry, thank you for saying that. Because you're mentoring some people, you tell them some things
and
they don't want to do it. And then another problem is people having multiple mentors. So this person said this to you, this person said that to you, this person said, sometimes I'm mentoring some people and I tell them this, don't do this. Walk through this. This is the reason. This is the reason. This is the reason. They don't, because somebody else, another mentor is saying, go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
And then at that point, I want to give ground rule to say, okay, I'm just going to withdraw and allow you.
Yeah. Because people have to also make their own choices. They also have to make their own choices. Anytime I am like really like just feeling insecure or having a lot of doubt, honestly, sometimes I don't want to talk to God. I don't want to because I'm mad or I'm frustrated or I'm like, what do you want me to do? Just because you're a pastor or I'm a pastor or we are a mom or a dad or a teacher or whatever, it does not mean we have all the answers. We are a follower of Christ does not mean we're perfect. I have really bad days where I'm like, what is happening? And I'm going to pull my hair out, right? But the thing is you can sit in that frustration for a minute, but I will not sit there very long.
Amen.
Where I'm like, God, I need you and I need your help. And I won't have a lot of people speaking into me because otherwise I'm gonna talk to the people where I want it. I want the good things they have to say.
Yeah.
I want them to take my side. Now, I'm gonna go to the person that I know is gonna call me out. They're gonna call me out on my stuff and hold me accountable.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna go straight to John 15.
Okay.
Talks about the vine and the branches.
Yeah.
So when you talked about change earlier, willing to change, when you think about being connected to the vine, which is
Mm.
Jesus.
Jesus, yeah.
Whenever he cuts off any part of us that does not bear fruit,
Mm.
and the fruit is the fruits of the Spirit,
Mm.
self-control, the peace, the joy, the love, the kindness, all of those things,
Mm.
he cuts those away and he
Yeah.
prunes our hearts and our spirits.
Mm.
It hurts.
Yeah.
But those are the things that do not represent God.
Yeah.
They're the things that do not show the love of God or do not make us the good people that he created us to be.
Mm.
You know?
Mm.
And so I will go straight to John 15. Remain in me and I remain in you. From apart from me, you can do nothing.
Awesome. That's your scripture.
Oh,
You
yes.
have that scripture. One of the things that
The whole chapter is good.
yeah, one of the things that I think is most times, like talking about bad days, oh my goodness, there are times I just go to my prayer closet and I can't get a word out. Sometimes I just want to cry. Sometimes I just want to ask questions like I know God is not going to answer. But, you know, we're human.
We're not.
We're human.
That's right.
And I was raised to say, try to do everything perfect. So I always want to work on things perfect, work on my relationship, work on this. But the truth is, it's good to recognize our vulnerability
Right.
at some point. Sometimes when you're helping people, I was in a meeting yesterday, a ladies group meeting. It's a live group meeting. By Life Church in South Denver. They have this ladies group meeting. Irene leads it. A wonderful meeting. We meet twice a month. And we were talking yesterday, and we were just talking about ourselves. We're talking about that book about setting boundary by Lisa. We're reading the book.
Yes.
So we were talking about the first chapter. And I said something, I said, one of the things sometimes, like I want to do things for people, I want to do the good, but I don't learn to set boundaries. That is wrong.
Right.
So at that point, what do I need to do? Learn how to do things. If there are things in my relationships, in my work with God, in my work with my children, I need to learn. When we're having family stuff with my children, I'm like, okay, so what is mommy not doing? Okay, of course, you're going to have all the long list. Oh, let me do this myself. Let me do that. And then I start learning. It's not everything I'm going to let them have, but it gives me to learn that the fact that I'm a mother does not mean I have all of the answers. Sometimes our children can see some things and they can correct us. It's
Yes.
okay for your children to correct you. I tell my children, you can call me out. The moment I said that, my last son have that app. Oh, everything he wants to call you out. I said, Ezra, I'm not saying every day, every second,
It's
but
the same thing.
think through it. Call me out.
Yes.
Because that's the thing that is going to make us get better.
Yes. My daughter will look at me and she says, Mommy, are you mad? And I said, no. She goes, you look mad. She's like, your face looks mad and you sound mad.
Yeah.
I am so sorry. Like, thank you for saying, like, they have permission too.
Yeah.
To call
Yeah.
me.
I tell my children, eat on the dining table. Then this particular day, I was so tired. I was watching something on the television in my room, and I take my food straight down to the room. And my son said, Mom, they don't really have to say it all. I'm like, Mom, really? At that point, I wanted to start giving excuses. Oh, because I'm watching. I say, you know what? Let's go to the dining table. I'm sorry.
Yep.
But some days you don't get to even say you're sorry. Some days you want to give excuse. So it's your real life. But then on this issue, what's your final talk to someone struggling in their relationship, maybe the wife that is doing something wrong, that doesn't want to accept that she's wrong, you know? like Josh was able to say, I'm wrong. Or like even a wife that is wrong, because you also have the narcissistic behavior where somebody inflict pain on other people and make herself or himself look like the victim,
Right.
and some people are going through a lot of emotional trauma, a lot of mental health problem because of the situation of their marriage, especially when their partner is not going to own up to what they have done, and they're doing those things consistently, and the other party, whether male or female, is hurting terribly on a daily basis. Some may affect their health and everything, and they're still in it. What's your word for them?
So this is where it can get really hard,
Mm,
because when we are hurt because of what somebody has done that has impacted us, we feel like there's something wrong with us.
mm,
You may feel like there's something wrong with you, or that you have done something bad, or you're the one that is has committed adultery, or you're looking at porn, or you're gambling all your money away, or you've done something to hurt your spouse. You think that you are bad, that you are unlovable, that something is wrong with you.
mm,
Your actions and your behaviors are not good, right? But God did not create you that way.
mm,
God does not say that you are bad
mhm,
or that there's something wrong with you.
mhm,
God does not say that about you. What you are doing is not right, and your actions and your behaviors are not okay. But you, as a human being, you are a child of God,
mm,
and you have a choice to focus on God and how He can create in you a pure heart.
amen.
And you can have a heart of willingness and humility and teachability to change. So many people will say, well, this is just the way I am. This is how I was raised. That is a lie.
Mhm,
That is not how you are
mm,
because of how you were raised.
mm,
We all can change.
mm,
We can all change and change the generations of our family and
mm,
the legacy that we want to leave.
mm, mm,
God does not say yet you are bad.
mm,
You may have done bad things.
mm,
I did really bad things in my past. I sold drugs. I did drugs. I lied. I cheated. I stole. I did all these bad things. But I am not bad.
mm,
You may have done all these bad things, or all these bad things have happened to you.
mm,
There's nothing bad with you.
mm,
You're not broken.
mm,
You're not broken.
mm,
You are a child of God, and you are
mm, mhm,
loved. And you have to know that if you want to get help, or if you want to forgive, then you've got to go through some hard work to get better. But it's possible.
yeah.
You have to be willing to take it one step at a time and one day at a time.
Mm, mm,
Because tomorrow, God says, has enough trouble of its own.
mm,
Just enough strength for today. So if you're walking through brokenness today and hurt today, you just do today. Now, yes, we have
yeah.
to do it tomorrow. We got to make plans and we got to provide for our families. But just do today, one day at a time.
Focus on today.
For today. And
Yeah.
the joy of the Lord of our strength. I mean, we can talk about all the good things that God does for us. That's great. But sometimes when we're hurting and we're broken, it just hurts.
Mm,
We're just broken.
mm,
We're just
mm,
sad. And it's
mm,
okay to not be okay.
mhm, mhm,
It's not okay is to feel like you're never going to get better.
mm.
There's always hope.
Wow.
There's always hope.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for saying that. And for people that are in recovery, it's like a child trying to walk for the first time. Sometimes it's standing and taking few steps and then it falls, and don't get discouraged if you fall in the process. What is most important is for you to keep moving forward.
You get back up. I talk to people that they were sober for a month and then they drank again. And I'm like, okay, get back up,
Mm,
dust yourself off, pick
mm,
yourself back up,
get back up.
wipe the mud off your face.
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
you've fallen in whatever, you get back up.
Get back up. Don't say that.
No,
Don't say that. Don't give up. I think that is where the place of mentoring is
yes,
about, because like you talking about your life, I did a lot of pretty bad things myself, got into wrong relationship, had abortions, had all of those things. I didn't want to do them, but I found myself in there, but I had to own up to read that I did those things. And I was willing to change. I was willing, whatever consequences I needed to suffer, I was willing to go through whatever I needed to suffer, but to get better and be. And I found this mentor, oh my goodness. And I became accountable. Like, I want to say this is what I've done, this is what I've done. Be open, because that's the only thing. If you having headache, but you go to the doctor and say you have stomach pain, you're never going to be healed. You have to be vulnerable to your counselor, to your mentor, so that they can truly help you. And be willing, the willingness, the Bible said, if you're willing and obedient, you will eat the good of the land. So the willingness is the thing, and not feel that you are the only one that has done bad things. A lot of people have done bad things also, and so the fact that a counselor is counseling you does not mean it's perfect, but they're working towards the perfection in Christ. So the thing is, and if you have a spouse, and if your husband or your wife is humble enough to want to go through the process, you
yes.
have to be patient with them. You have to be patient with them and be the godly man, the godly woman. Because if your husband is going through recovery process and then you're putting it all out to him every day, that's not encouraging him to change. And the person that is changed to should be humble. Maybe if your wife bring it up one day, maybe because she's also hurting, don't let that also discourage you.
No,
Tell
no,
yourself this is part of the price you're paying for the wrong thing. Because sometimes, even when God forgives us, we sometimes still suffer certain consequences.
for sure.
So be humble for the process.
Well, and here's the thing too, just real briefly, when Josh and I were walking through healing, his
Mm,
mentor told him that you will spend the rest of your life making her feel safe.
mm,
And my mentor said, don't you dare throw this up in his face.
mm, mm, mm.
And so even today, if I feel insecure or we're in a fight or anything, I don't throw anything up in his face.
Yeah.
He doesn't, and whenever I feel unsafe, he doesn't say, oh, are you over it? He doesn't do that.
Mm,
He does everything to make me feel safe. So
mm,
as you're walking, yes, there's going to be trust and you're rebuilding trust.
mm.
You just continue to just love and encourage, because throwing it up in each other's faces and holding it against each other is not going to bring healing.
Yeah, especially when you've healed, when you go through the issue. I mean, if the person is saying, "Oh, because we have some other situation where the person is just saying this is me and is being nasty and is behaving and is, that's another different issue entirely. Probably we're going to talk about that one day, about what that woman or that man can do. If you find your partner consistently doing the bad thing and they've already owned it to feel that this is the way that they want to live their life, you also need to go see a counseling and mentor, because don't be in an environment that is destructive to your life. It's very, very important.
Right.
It's very, very important, because that was what happened in your first marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you had stayed in that marriage, it's either that you will have been in the prison by now or you will have been dead by now. So you knew the time to create that boundaries to say, if you're not willing, like Josh was willing to change,
Right.
those are two different things.
Well, and
Your thoughts of
if you're in danger or your life is in danger and you're not safe, you need help. You need to get help. Don't
it's
stay
very,
in a situation if you're not safe.
mm, it's
So,
very important. Thank you so much, Sherry. We're going to come back again. We're going to come back about abusive. How did you go through the issue of abuse? What was the impact and how did you get healed? Some people are going through abuse and so on like that. So we're going to call you all one time and we're going to talk. Cheryl, thank you so much. Thank you for being vulnerable.
yeah.
Being vulnerable to the Lord. That's the way I'm going to put it, because your story is helping other people to cope. Other people that the partner has done something and every little time they want to bring it up on him, especially when it's changed and it's moved forward and everything, they want to keep dragging him back. Thank you for saying that. And thank you also for encouraging people that partners that are feeling, no, this is me, to say that humble yourself, and seek for help and find change. And the other party to thank you. You said a lot of things that are so amazing. God bless you. God bless Josh. God bless Skylar. God bless Angelina, Adeline, all of your family, everything you do, may the Lord prosper you. May the Lord make you successful in everything as you move forward to the journey of your life. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. So viewers, you've seen it. Next week, we're going to take question and answer on this program. Viewers, if you have your questions, please bring your question out so that we can deal with it. I don't know if Sharon is going to be here next week again. I don't know. We'll find out during the week. We'll see how that goes. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, but we're going to have questions. So you want to write out your question. Like I said, pastortolualabi@gmail.com. Write to the ministry, inbox me your question so that your questions can be answered next week. Thank you, everyone. Keep working on your relationship, and God is faithful.
Yes,
If
he
He
is.
built that relationship, He has the power and the grace to uphold that relationship as long as we are humble before Him. Pray for right mentor, pray for right counselor. And when God has given you a mentor and a counselor, maintain the relationship. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.